Hi Ellen, today we are presenting on failures in supply chain management and what can be learned from it. Uh, myself, Hinal Shah, and my partner Pragnesh Kach is presenting to you.
Hi. So we are going to talk about supply chain management, which is basically a growing concept in importance and popularity. In order to complete successful global market economy, organizations currently have to rely on having effective supply chain and network. Supply chain management basically consists of five main factors: supplier, manufacturer, distributor, retailer, and shopper. It is the management of flows that basically determine what kind of products and services should be provided, which begins from the origin, that is the manufacturers, and goes toward the end customer, which sometimes is shopper and at some cases it is the customer. When we are talking about manufacturing industry, the shopper is the end consumer. When we are talking about the service industry, consumer is the end of the supply chain. It basically comprises of movement and storage of raw materials, which are involved in different processes of work, including the inventory, furnishing of products, basic change and makeovers of the product, right? The competition has shifted from individual organizations now to forming a whole supply chain, which overall helps the manufacturers to let their product to the end customer. Next. The basic objectives of supply chain management. First, to monitor and relate production, distribution, and shipment of production and services. What we understand from this thing is supply chain not only relates to just passing on or making the product available from one end to another, but it also relates to how much production is required at the point of time, how we are going to distribute to the number of networks, suppliers, or the retailers, right? And however, how we are going to manage the shipment, how we are going to focus on the logistics so that the product can reach from one country to another country, or in some states, like from one province to another province, right? So to achieve the supply chain management, we have to develop very good and connections with the suppliers like the courier companies like DHL, which does not only works with passing off some parcels and all that stuff, but it also is a global supply chain leader, which also connects the cargoes and does a major supply inventory, right? Moreover, supply chain object management, it also uses different strategies and approaches to view the entire supply chain and work efficiently at each and every stage and step involved in the supply chain. It means how to develop a proper production strategy, which we learned previously. Like supply chain comprises of five different steps. First being manufacturer, supplier, logistics, distributor, retailer, and shopper. How to manage the production, how to make it available, when to dispatch the courier, when to make it available to the next person who is going to receive it, right? And when to exactly market the product. Next. Talking about global supply chain management, it is a one step further in supply chain management. It not only relates to just manufacturing of product and making it available to the customer, but its sole aim is to generate an optimal level of customer service as well as providing them proper satisfaction at the same point of time being as much as possible cost efficient, right? Supply chain management here also refers to designing, planning, implementation, control, and monitoring of supply chain activities with the only objective of creating a net value, creating a competitive infrastructure, influencing the worldwide logistics, and coordinating with supply demand and measuring performance globally. Global supply chain management is also related to reduction of the overall cost and give advantage to generate large scale efficient production. When we are talking about this point, it firstly relates to reduction, like as much as minimum manufacturing cost, which gives the company, the manufacturer, to do a large scale production. If a cost has been reduced of a one product from $50 to $25 or $30, they can increase their production, which will help overall supply chain without any scarcity of product. Next, basically talking about supply chain management processes, there are 5 different processes: planning, sourcing, executing, delivering them to the customer, and getting return, right? So planning here, it's the stage where we will be deciding how much manufacturing or how much production is required. Sourcing, sometimes it relates with outsourcing of product where we, according to the need and requirement, orders some third party or third person manufacturer to develop and manufacture a product according to our need and requirement, get them in our company, do require manufacturing or require modification in the same thing, and let it pass further. Execution is execution of the supply chain management. It is the process of making the product available to our distributor, our logistics man, so they can make it available to the end customer. Deliver, when the actual customer or the end person of the supply chain receives the product. And return, in some cases it is possible that the end customer or the end party of the supply chain receives a defective product or a product which they do not actually want. So the return also includes of refunding to the customer, that is the end part of supply chain, right? Next, root causes in supply chain management. Flawed sourcing strategy. When we are talking about flawed sourcing strategy, it includes selecting incompetent suppliers or outsourcing a process with a hidden factory that is not documented. Single outsources sometimes includes the critical components which are driven by economics or supplier development capability. And due to the same reason, it sometimes results in extended supply shortages. Improper component specification, not satisfying the requirement or the specifications of the product is also one of the flaws in supply chain management. If the only time when we would be able to know that this customer is not satisfied with the product is when they are receiving the product. At such point of time, in order to make satisfy the customer, the whole process is now repeated again from the start. This is excessive cost and eventually passed on to the buyer. And many times, just because of this whole process, a buyer's assembly process is jeopardized. Natural and anthropogenic disaster. Best example here, we can talk about COVID-19. Currently, due to COVID-19, we are able to find abundant scarcity in each and every product. It is because of panicking. Sometimes it is because of natural causes as well. But it is a flaw in supply chain management. Internal controls, which is related to the manufacturer's factory, and market conditions. Next, I would like now Hinal to take over the further presentation.
Hi. Failures in supply chain management. There are lots of failures that happen in supply chain management in day-to-day routine. A few of them are mentioned here. The first being pandemic. As we all witnessed, the biggest pandemic was COVID-19. Because of that, all the shipments got delayed. We were out of stocks of lot of things. The best example is of chip shortage in automobile industry. They had to lay off people and they were running short of materials. So that's one of the biggest failure till now in supply chain management process. Natural disasters. There are lots of events that happen, such as severe weather events. Especially in Canada, the weather is very unpredictable, and those can be known as natural disasters that happen day to day and delay the process because the shipments might get delayed due to bad weather conditions, and it affects the whole supply chain process eventually. Transportation uncertainty. There is no certainty for transportation, what time the material will it reach at the desired time, because there's lots of things that can happen, such as accidents can happen on the way. The machine breakdown can happen, vehicle breakdown can happen, there can be a human error, like the person who's driving can be tired and need some rest. So that can eventually affect the whole process. The shipment may be delayed, and the further all the processes that are dependent on the shipment gets delayed too. Product problems. The product that is reached at the destination might not be the one that was specified. It can be changed, or there can be errors, or it can be broken while it was in on the way. Because everything is dependent on the product specifications, the product needs to be as it is specified, and if it is not as per the specification, it is definitely going to delay the whole process as they get returned, and then everything gets delayed and there's stop of work definitely. Price fluctuations. With the market price increasing, with pandemic going on, inflation rate is increasing, there's no certainty in price. There are a lot of fluctuations that happen in the price. The transportation charges increases, the diesel and the petrol prices increases, which definitely at the end, small things are creating huge impact at the end on the supply chain. Because if one of these things do not work out properly, it is eventually the whole supply chain is going to get affected, because this is a chain and it is connected to one another. Everything here is connected. So these are the major problems that we found in supply chain management. To avoid all the problems that are happening, we came out with a prevention plan. Sales and operation planning can be increased. One of the primary goals is to manage the demand and supply process on a continuous basis with a strong monthly rhythm. So even better way to improve the sales and operations is by implementing a 5-step integrated business planning process throughout the organization. That can definitely prevent the failures that happen. Next is supply chain risk management. There is definitely risk in every organization. So we just need to find what type of risk is affected in the supply chain. An initial detailed analysis of each thing that affects the supply chain can be done, and the analysis can be evaluated and updated on a regular basis. Risk assessments can also be carried out. Suppose raw materials and purchase components inside incoming logistics, everything can be assessed with a scenario of risk, and the whole process of supply chain risk management can be analyzed. Next is supplier relationship management. Because many supply chain failures involve component suppliers or outsourced manufacturing companies. So one must work closely with them on an ongoing basis. Time spent together is an investment in relationships, and that will result in improved performance that is frequently overlooked. Segment the supply chain. The whole chain that happens should be properly arranged beforehand. The timings, the details, everything should be properly done so that we can allow some buffer time period to delays or some human errors, so that the whole process is not affected and everything goes as per plan. Regionalize the supply chain. As per the regions and as per the materials that are available, the whole supply chain process needs to be organized in the way that is easily available. We don't have to go out of the hand to look for materials or anything that's related in the supply chain, so that it won't affect the whole process. The key lessons to learn from the failures of supply chain is software applications cannot compensate for old business judgments, definitely, because the business judgments that are done with the human brain cannot be compatible with anything. No software applications can be compatible to that thing. So definitely human judgment should be given more priority over all software applications, because these days everything is getting based on software applications. Next is sloppy management and forecast are a major problem. We cannot just randomly manage and forecast everything. We have to be very particular in managing and forecasting everything that we plan for the whole supply chain process. We just cannot randomly be thinking about things and let everything happen on its own. Third one is broadening networks, expanding connections, deepening relationships always helps. Definitely, relationships with other people is definitely going to help if we broaden our network. If one material is not available from a certain supplier, we can definitely get it available from someone else. That can only happen if we have deep connections and expanded networks. So, the main thing is all about networks, human networks. And the last one is allocating resources to equipments and partnering with asset-based providers. Nowadays, everything is everybody is getting used to automation. And so if automation is of human help, then all the resources should be allocated according to the equipments that we are using in the process, and also partnering with asset based providers, someone who's providing us with equipments or materials are an asset for us, and we should be partnering with them in order to make the whole process smooth. In order to avoid all the errors that happen in supply chain process, there's a recommendation that we implement a certain plan so that there is minimum errors in the whole process. First being, we need to plan everything properly. Every minute detail needs to be given importance, and we need to plan it as per the things we require at a certain time. Next is assess everything. Once we make a plan, we need to see that everything is accessible to us and there's no risk in the plan that's being made. And if there is a risk, we need to also make a risk plan, how we are going to take care of the risk that might happen or might not happen. Designing everything that is planned has to be designed to, so that it can be implemented easily. If there's no design, then it becomes difficult for the person that is implementing to really execute the thing that is just planned. So if there's designs of everything available, it becomes really easy to execute things. Second, implementing should be smoothly done. So if designing is proper, planning is proper, access is proper, then implementation can go smooth. And if there's some problems in implementation, we can definitely solve it in the next step, that is review. Once everything is done, we put the whole process in review. If there is any problems, we review it, we take everyone's opinions, and we see what changes can be done in the whole process. That will definitely make the whole supply chain process more smoother. To conclude, many efforts are being made in supply chain management industry, and it is a large industry that keeps on changing every day. And most of supply chains are marked by lack of transparency and cooperation between each other. And supply chain problems typical projects typically address only a portion of the supply chain. Some portions are usually left unnoticed. So it needs to be, people need to build trust within the whole process, within the whole networking thing. We need to be more clear about communicating. The whole process needs to be clearly reached and clearly communicated, which is definitely difficult, but if we follow some steps, we can reach the desired goal. And the ability to control profits as suppliers or customers is by gaining knowledge. So definitely we can learn new every day in the whole industry and can implement it in the work. Thank you.